attached or overly desirous towards worldly possessions. Given that all phenomena have their causes and conditions, they take their natural course and cannot be forced in place. In other words, what is meant to be ours will come. What is not meant to be ours will not happen, even if we insist. This is how interesting the ways of causes and conditions are. For example, just as a farmer is about to water the vegetables he just planted, a gentle rain starts to fall. Are these causes and conditions not favorable? Or in another example, just as a Dharma teacher is looking for a venue to hold a Dharma talk, someone suddenly shows up to say they have a space that can be used. Are these causes and conditions not fortuitous? Even if one looked to book or borrow a venue, it does not necessarily guarantee that the space would be available. However, with good affinities, everything will come together. Continue. It can be likened to an unexpected gift presented by others. Even though it had not been sought after, it still has to be accepted upon the insistence of the giver. How can it be rejected? As such, it is possible to have without wanting. Moreover, the importance of cultivating meritorious causes and conditions can also be seen. As long as we have a sincere wish to form affinities with others and put in the effort to sow seeds, we will eventually reap what has been planted.
Want to pick someone in the group?
Erwin?
Having by not wanting does not mean being greedy, nor does it mean pursuing things through underhanded means. Instead, it comes from an understanding that since everything has its causes and conditions, some things are meant to be ours while others are not. We often hear news of robbery or fraud occurring within society. More often than not, people are motivated to commit these crimes because of the craving to have something. Instead, they end up with nothing when punished by the law. So what was the use of pursuing it in the first place? There is no need to be jealous of what others have. They have their own causes and conditions, but we can also proactively cultivate our own affinities if we lack of them. How to do so? For instance, we can offer a bit of money if we have some upon seeing the poor. We can offer helpful information about job opportunities for unemployed people. With just a few words, we can resolve a person's difficulties. These are all examples of giving others causes and conditions as we keep giving people people will naturally repay the favor. For this reason, I have advocated the four givings: give others faith, give others joy, give others hope, and give others convenience as a working motto for Fokangsan in its early days of establishment. In this way, I wish to encourage everyone to practice wholesome deeds for others and broadly form good affinities. May I call Oj?
My life can be characterized by having, by not wanting. Additionally, I also follow the philosophy of having everything without having anything. The two practices are the same. Nevertheless, how can a person have everything without having anything? When speaking to monastics, particularly those in their youth, I frequently mention the philosophy of the 10 withouts. Not having anything is far greater than having something. This is because there is always a definite limit to existence or how much a person has. But on the other hand, emptiness or what a person does not have is infinite and immeasurable. Furthermore, emptiness can give rise to existence. For example, a dry lake may be without aquatic life, but once it rains and fills the lake, fish will begin to appear. A plot of land may be unkempt, but when cultivated and sown with seeds, it will spring to life with flora. Nature and the universe, too, come into existence through causes and conditions. Similarly, can your mind be likened to a body of water? If so, treasures of all kinds will naturally be found within. Is your heart likened to a vast plot of land? If so, crops of all kinds will naturally grow within. Follow the causes and conditions, and you will discover having is made possible by not wanting.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you for reading. Let me share my PowerPoint. Are you able to see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, so today we'll just go by the 4 steps as we previously have done before, where we will recall, reflect, relate, and realize. I think there's some contemplation that needs to be done with this particular article. So with the recall, let's begin by reflecting or recalling the content of the article. So what is the practice of not wanting, according to the article?
I'll share. It says in the article, not wanting is a practice of not being greedy, attached, or overly desirous towards worldly possessions.
Yes, yes. So it's not being greedy and not attached. Okay. So what are some of the examples of causes and conditions?
Before, I think one example given in the article is when a farmer is about to water his plants and then the rain comes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the article asks us is,
Mm-hmm.
are these causes and conditions not favorable?
Mm-hmm. Okay. There's also another example in there.
Yeah, so the other
Then
example,
Yes, Sheila?
the next example is, in the book is the Dharma teacher looking for a venue for a talk.
Yes, yes. Okay. So the next question is elaborate on what is the meaning of having by not wanting. There's another paragraph where it explains it in the further down in the article. Can you find it?
so one example is like the unexpected gift without.
Yeah. So here it there's another paragraph where it says having by not wanting does not mean being greedy, nor does it mean to pursuing things through underhanded means. Instead, it comes from an understanding that since everything has its causes and conditions, some things are meant to be ours while others are not. Mhm. Okay, so what are some examples that we can proactively cultivate our own affinities?
It says here that we can offer some money when we see poor people,
Mhm.
or we can offer helpful information about job opportunities for unemployed people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes. So these Venerable Master says these are giving others causes and conditions, right? And also, as we keep giving, he says that people will naturally repay the favor, right? So here, I want to share this idea of what we have just talked about here about giving others causes and conditions by telling you about how Venerable Master practices the spirit of forgiving and by fulfilling all wishes. Okay, so this one was in Chinese, and I used ChatGPT to help me with the translation, and then just edited it. So it did pretty well, I must say. So, okay, so Venerable Master says, whenever I see, this is him speaking, okay, so whenever I see a devotee, the first thing that comes to my mind is their needs. Are they hungry or thirsty? How can I offer them tea or food? Do they need rest? How can I find them a spot in the shade to sit and cool off? Do they need accommodation here? How can I build them a room to stay and rest? Do they want to read Buddha's books? How can I give them books that will benefit them and help them increase their wisdom and understanding? I gradually realized that to practice true giving, I cannot be motivated by greed or the desire to receive something in return. Therefore, I established the Fopang working principles, which is to give others faith, give others joy, give others hope, and give others convenience. At the same time, I also realized that my sincerity towards others was still not enough, and that my genuine heart still has deficiencies. Therefore, I planted trees and flowers so that people can appreciate them, and also they can provide shade for people. I built lodge and reception halls for people to drink tea and stay for rest. I enshrine images of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas so that people can come to pay respects. I worry that rain will make it inconvenient for people to walk around, so I put umbrellas at the front gate. I realized that people entering the shrine at the temple needed a host and an attendant to welcome and answer their questions. I saw that the roads were narrow and difficult to navigate, so I thought about widening them. I saw that parents with infants and young children came to the temple, so I set up breastfeeding rooms and provided strollers for their convenience. I also thought about how the elderly would have difficulty walking around, so I prepared wheelchairs for them to use, and even for people with disabilities. I thought about how to provide them with barrier-free access. I don't believe that just because a devotee comes to pay homage, they are automatically my disciple or follower. I welcome them all as Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Although I have suffered 2 strokes and have difficulty moving my limbs, whenever someone wants to take a photo with me, I always try to stand up as much as possible to show them my respect. Okay, so from what I just shared here, wanted to highlight that Venerable Master says that he just wishes to encourage everyone to practice the wholesome deeds for others and broadly form good affinities, right? We can see from what I just shared about how he's constantly thinking about how can I serve others, right? How can I give them the convenience that they need, or things that to make their visit to Fo Guangshan more what do you call it, comfortable, right? So when we talk about humanistic Buddhism, you know, one of it is to give people what they need, right? So from that, we can see that he's constantly thinking about how can he give others in that way. Okay, so I'm not sure if you got to see the 10 practices, because in the article it talks about the 10 withouts, and it's a footnote. Since it was not in the electronic, we might have to go back to, but I just thought I pasted here, and then we can look at it one by one. Because I think the whole idea of Venerable Master saying that having by not wanting, I think if we pause for a moment to think about what does that actually mean, even though we've read the article, but I think it's a whole different kind of mindset. And I think the philosophy of these 10 withouts kind of give us a elaboration on what that involves. Okay, so with the first one of the very first 10 withouts is being wealthy without material riches. Okay, so being wealthy does not mean you need to have lots and lots of money. It's not material, right? What are some of the wealth that we have that are not material riches?
Knowledge or wisdom?
Sorry, what was that?
Knowledge or wisdom?
Yes, yes, right. So we can share our experiences, we can share our knowledge, right? And the wisdom that you develop, those are your wealth as well, right? But a person who can give is the person who is wealthy, right? However means that you do your giving others as the 4 givings, and I think we talked about that before in the previous articles. Yeah. Okay, so the second one, he says, having without seeking. What do you think this means?
Shifu, can it be about being contented?
Being contented?
Yes. Like you already have whatever it is that gives you joy and you're not seeking for anything more.
Yes. See, sometimes it's a bit like in the article, you know, when you just the farmer, right? He was not seeking for the rain to come. He was gonna water the plant anyway, but then the rain just came. So sometimes you are given something and then you have something without actually searching for it. It just kind of comes to you, right? So there are the causes and conditions just so happen that it made it happen for you, or it made it happen full stop, you know. So I think this is kind of not how you can have a lot of things without really searching for it, because it just comes to you. I think this is what this is saying. But of course, there's another one which talks about the contentment. Okay. So here, this one is about having compassion without being overly sentimental. Anyone want to comment about this one? Yes, Owen?
So is it something like, uh, you know, we ordinary beings, sometimes if we are compassionate to other people, then we expect them to appreciate us or something like that. So
Mm.
here, Venerable Master Singyon is telling us that if we give compassion, we don't need to think of, them giving it back to us. Is
Mhm.
it like that?
Actually, this one, because of course this is a translation of where the translator has used overly sentimental. But if we look at the actual Chinese, right? I know some of you don't read the Chinese, but 无情之词. That 无情, I think it's kind of well, I suppose that 情 can be sentimental.
Shifu, can
Yes.
it also be the Qing where if only someone is related to you, so you have compassion? So is Da Shi saying that
Yes,
regardless
that's
of
also
yeah,
yes,
regardless
that's
of
also
Qing, Mei Qing, we
yes.
have to practice compassion.
Yes, yes, yes. So I guess the sentimental comes when you're only compassionate to people who you love, you're compassionate to people who are close to you, right? But the people who have no relations or people who you do not know, maybe you don't really show your compassion. Mhm. Yeah. Okay, so the next one is being joyful without desires. So this one is almost saying that desires kind of, well, to be happy, really, it's not really only through desires, right? You can also be joyful without being driven by your desires, right? Because in a way, desires is kind of that grasping. But then often we will say, okay, only if I get this, then I'll be happy, right? But this one is saying that you don't have to get anything. You don't have to desire for anything. You can still be joyful,
Mhm.
right? So, like, we can be joyful. Well, it's not until you fall sick then you realize that how great it is to be able to taste food. Right? When you have a blocked nose, you can't, everything tastes bland to you, right? Or if you injured yourself, then you know how inconvenient it is when you can't walk and then you have to have others to push you around, right? It's only until something like that happens, then we start to realize that actually I should be joyful. So this happened to me this morning. I was, well, today in Foguangshan on Wednesdays and Thursdays, the breakfast is bun and soybean milk. So I usually don't ask for seconds for the soybean milk, but decided that I'm going to have for seconds. So I pushed it out and I waited and waited and waited. And then you know how there's there's a timing for it, okay? Because once the abbot does his speech, it's almost time for end of breakfast. I could hear the bucket because they were serving somebody behind me. I could hear the bucket behind me. I was like, okay, the person is just right behind me. They probably saw my bowl out. I just waited and then I couldn't hear the bucket sound anymore and they left. So eventually somebody came and kind of signaled them, 3, I want soup. So okay, after that, I still waited. And I can feel the abbot kind of, he's closing his speech. But luckily somebody came and served me right before his last sentence. And then once she served it, and then he ended the speech, and I took my bowl in. I was very happy because I was thinking, oh, maybe I was already ready for like, okay, maybe today is not the day that I will get my second bowl of soybean milk. But at least I still got it. I still got my second bowl. So it made me realize that even just something like that, right? I was very happy for getting it, but I realized how difficult it is sometimes. When you don't have the right condition, you just don't have the right condition, right? So, but today at least I just made it. I got my second bowl of soybean milk. Okay, so I just thought that reading this kind of just made me realize that. Okay, so the fifth one, it's saying that taking everywhere to be home without dwelling anywhere. Do you feel home everywhere you go? Or it's only in your own home that you feel home? It's worth thinking, huh?
处处无家，处处家。
Mhm.
How to speak in English? Everywhere is.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like the saying where we say every place is a good place.
Mm.
You know, every place is a good place, or every place is your home, right? I guess if you make it your home, then it is your home. But I personally, I would think that also that if you're grounded in yourself, if you're content in yourself and you are able to bring yourself to the moment, I think it's this dwelling, the so-called dwelling, is that you dwell somewhere with your mind, you're settled, right? You're settled in your mind, so everywhere can be home, right? You can sit in the car and that's your home for that moment, right? When you're transiting on your plane or to somewhere, you stay at the hotel for a few hours, right? That could be your dwelling for that few hours, right? So I guess, yeah. So if we make ourselves comfortable in that environment, that can be your home, right? It's not necessarily, it has to be a place you own to be called your home. Okay. This is the contentment one. Being content even without a comfortable place.
Sifu, I'd like to share something about this. It just occurred to
Sure.
me. So being content without a comfortable place. So recently there was a fashion show in one of the hotels, and I was assigned to a particular table. Because you had to have, you have to be in a table to be able to watch that show. And my cousin, unfortunately, didn't get a reservation for any table. So she asked me if she could sit in my place, right? And of course I gave her my seat, because I was thinking that she will probably be not comfortable sitting with people who are not her friends.
Mhm.
And meanwhile, I have a lot of friends, and I'm comfortable around people, so I could just go in another table and and just sit there. So yeah, so being comfortable means you can sit with different people, even if they're not your friends, then you can make friends with them. You don't have to be with your family or your close knit, your close group of friends, because um you can always make friends and make new affinities, like the Venerable Master advised, developing affinities. That's my take on this one, Sipu.
It's also like make the most out of your situation, right? We make the most out of it, whatever it is. Like, even if I don't get my second bowl of soup, I would just take it in and I would just accept. Right? Well, I have to accept, right? But it's what we do with, sure, if we have it or when we don't have it. Either way, you want to be content with that situation. So how do we change our mind about what's happening? Right. So often when things don't work out the way we wish it to be, we get very upset. But it's how quickly can we change our mind about what will make me upset? It's what we call the 转念, whether or not you are able to turn your thoughts around, right? And change the way you see the situation, and right away, the way you feel will be very different. Right? And very thoughtful of you to give up your seat for your cousin, knowing that she will be uncomfortable, but you're comfortable wherever you are. Okay. So the seventh is being in a multitude without attaching to others. Venerable Master always says that he's among the multitude. He's one of the multitudes, right? He's never really will separate himself from a group. He sees that he is part of all the causes and conditions, right? But this one is saying that being in a multitude but without attaching to others means that you put yourself in a group, but then there's no clinging to anyone. There's no attachment to anyone, right? Almost like
Shifu,
the idea. Sorry, who's speaking there?
I'm so sorry. I just want to give my takeaways in regards for this statement. Being in a multitude without attaching to others. It is also like my personal experience because every day I've been receiving a lot of customers, in a daily manner, for almost like 25 or 30 persons in a day. So for in a week, I receive like for almost 1,000 or even 500 customers. And I've learned so much that, you know, um, we can assist them, I can assist them. But in the other hand, I cannot able to to attach with them. It's just like it's just like a job. From the moment that you cater them, that you handle their problems, that you handle their concerns, after the call, i- it's just there, and you cannot make some any kind of personal things or any kind of attachments to them. Amitabha.
Thank you for sharing. When we do it for a job, right, where you're demanded, you need to give service to so many people, right? It's what you're saying, that you just need to move on from one after another without really kind of getting stuck in one. How are you going to serve the next person, right? In this particular one, where Venerable Master says being in a multitude without attaching to others, is kind of saying that when you're one of the group, right? When we're one of the group, sometimes we are almost like because there's so many people, right? There will be definitely some people you're attached to, some people that you like more, you like less. So some people who you kind of have more affinities with and that, but to know that Venerable Master often says that he's one of the causes and conditions. For us to come together, just like tonight, there are maybe like 15 of us here, right? So for us to come together, the causes and conditions for us to come together, we're in a group. But knowing that this is causes and conditions coming together, and without the right causes and conditions, this will then, cease. The causes and conditions cease. So the coming and going. So it's not really, it's this moment we have this group. The next moment we have another group. So it's kind of putting yourself, seeing that these are the causes and conditions for us to come together. But it's not really so much that we need to cling to how things are in that moment, I think. This is how I read this one. Any others would like to share, or we can move on? Yeah. Okay, so the next one is saying having a mind without regrets. Right. This is important, right? This one is important. But this one, I think everyone kind of knows, having a mind without regrets. So the 9th is developing wisdom without resorting to cleverness. Okay. This so-called cleverness, some people think that being clever is different from, or being smart is different from wisdom, right? Because some people who are very clever, but they don't use it wisely.
I think, Shifu, this is Ube. I think the word there is wily. Cleverness. Some people use their knowledge to become wily and put one over the others. I think Tashi is reminding us that when we develop our know-how, our wisdom, it's to do it not for that purpose, or resorting to using it to, put one over others, being wily.
And also some people who you might be very skilled, but you still need to use it wisely, right? Yeah. So number 10 is doing things without being credited. How often do we want to claim credits for what we do? Right? Oh, I did that. Right? Or when you're not being credited for the work that you have done, you get a bit upset, right? If somebody gets all the applause, they did a great job, and you know that you were the one that did all the hard work, how would you feel in that moment, right? But this one is also saying that we will still continue to do it, even though whether or not we get credited or not, right? We still need to do it. So these are the 10 practices, right, that Venerable Master talks about, that how he practices these 10 without. Okay, so let's discuss a little bit about this, because I think the article talks about having by this, well, the name of it is having by not wanting. And in the article, Venerable Master also says this is the same as the philosophy of having everything without having anything. So the Chinese for having by not wanting is 不要而有. And then having everything without having anything is 以无为有. Okay, so the two are rather similar. Okay, he says it's the same. So you know, the article kind of explains it, but we can kind of think a little bit about what is your understanding of having by not wanting.
So I'll try.
Sure.
Is it like seeing things as not necessarily looking at it as being mine or from the other person? And like you don't mind whether you own it or the other person owns it. You still is happy. Something like that.
Okay, well, let us sit. Anyone else? Just your understanding. I mean, this one requires some thinking. Even I was thinking about it after I read the article. Sheila, would you like to give it a go?
Okay, Venerable. My take on this is that if you do something good or you help somebody out, I think you build up like affinities with other people. So maybe like you help somebody, and like you're not expecting somebody to help you. It's just because of what you had done in the past. When you need help or you need something, it just pops up out of nowhere. Because sometimes I would just wonder, oh, I didn't really want that, but all of a sudden it's just there in front of me. And it's maybe because maybe I did some good in the past or I helped somebody out, and then somebody can see that, oh, I'm in a pinch now. So maybe it's their time to step up and maybe help me out or something. So I don't know. It's just maybe the right causes that are just coming together at that time. And it's just something that follows naturally. So you shouldn't keep like running after it, because if it's for you, it'll just fall right into your lap. Something
Yes.
like that.
Yes. Like in the article, it says, if it's meant to be yours, it'll be yours.
Yeah,
Right?
it's true.
Marlene, would you like to share? Marlene, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So having by not wanting, it's kind of like you do something. It's very similar to what Sheila has said. My understanding is like you do something without any expectation, but then it just you're being rewarded by by that, but doing something without any expectation. Is it right?
Well, there's no right or wrong for this answer. It's your understanding.
That's my understanding.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Well, let me share also another, I'm not sure, well, probably some of you have heard this before. Venerable Master's master, right, his teacher, when he was younger, right, probably in his teens. So his master said to him that, the money I have for my tea leaves, what I need to buy my tea leaves with, the money I have for my tea leaves, if I give that to you, you can use it for the rest of your life and even more. So, but I'm not going to give a cent to you. Right. So which means he has a lot of money, but he's not even going to give Venerable Master 1 single cent. I mean, if you were Venerable Master, you hear this, it's like, okay, your master says to you, I have a lot of money, but I'm just not going to give you even 1 single cent. You'll be pretty hurt, right? You'll be pretty upset, right? It's like, you obviously don't need it, but you're not even going to give me any share of it. But you know, this Venerable Master is very, very grateful for, because this is how he ended up with this concept, not wanting. He has an attitude in life that he doesn't want anything. He doesn't crave for anything because of what his master has taught him. If his master taught him by giving him money, which means he will be money driven, and as a monastic, that's running on very, very thin line, right? So he understood that. Also, his master said to him, you might not understand now, but one day you will understand what this means. And he did. And I think a lot of what this concept of having, not wanting, he realized that because when we want, is actually, we actually trying to grab onto it, right? Or we're begging for it, right? You're either begging for it or you're like going out there to grab it, right? But a lot of times when you don't want anything, what he means by this one is that whole idea of the idea of emptiness, right? The idea of emptiness, that it's unlimited, it's boundless, there's myriads of possibilities, as we talked about it before, right? When we talked about emptiness, right? So there's so many possibilities when you don't kind of restrict yourself to it. It's like when you want something and you only just keep going for that one thing, and you just become more and more like narrow-minded. You just want that thing and nothing else. But when you don't want that thing and you just open to whatever comes, I think this is also what this is saying, where you're open to whatever comes. And when that comes, whatever comes, right? And it's just out of your expectations, and sometimes it's even better than what you are after, right? So I think this is a very, I don't know, I just feel like Venerable Master is so wise in getting us to think in this way, right? It's almost like you need to switch your mindset and see things very differently. So likewise, why he says that, you know, this is saying having everything without having anything, right? Because you can have, like he says, you know, the whole world is in your heart, in your mind. You can have the whole world. But then all of these are not, I guess he's getting us to see that non-tangible things. It's not just the tangible things that we cling on to, but there are so many things that are not tangible. Right? So that's my take on this one. Okay, so the next one, maybe this you can actually relate a little bit more, is have you ever had any experience where you received something you needed without having to ask? Anyone can share?
Sure, Fu, this is Ube. I just cannot show myself because I really look horrid from jet lag. So I, as to this one, I really have many experiences where I don't need something, or I may have needed it, I just didn't know, and it just came. Like a friend of mine would send me something, and then it's something my father needed, and I didn't know my father needed it already, and it would come, and it's just, you know, it just happens. There are many instances that causes and conditions may be because of affinities as well. So relating back to having everything but not having it. So really what matters is the affinities we have. We don't really hold on to anything tangible, but all these things come together and make our lives better
Mm. Mm.
without us asking for it. People just come around us and surround us with whatever we need, even without us asking for it.
Mhm. Mhm. Mm.
That is my own experience.
Mhm. I
Or
think
when I feel very sad and
Mhm.
just somehow someone would call me without, like when you feel sad, you don't want to burden other people, but somehow I just get a call and someone talks to me, things like that. So that's some of the experiences that I can say I received something I needed without having to ask.
Mhm. Mhm.
Thank you, Shafu.
Thank you. Thank you. I think the challenge is how do we um appreciate okay. So without asking for it, right? Sometimes it's a very thin line. We still ask for it. You know what I'm trying to say? It's just like it's very, very hard to not expect.
I've learned,
expect
Shafu. I used to be like that in the past, like how I think brother Erwin earlier said that, when you help people get over emotional, because when you are good to someone, you expect others to be good to you when you're in the same scenario as them before. But
Mhm.
I've learned over the years, and especially after reading up on the writings of Tashi, of not being attached, of just doing what you can do, I have grown. I mean, I can say for myself, I have grown. And yes, it's a thin line, but now I really can say that when things happen or not happen, to your liking or not to your liking, you just enjoy, or, you just embrace the experience, and that's it. And you grow from it. That's all. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Thank you again,
Anyone else?
Shifu.
Thank you, Ube, for sharing. Anyone else?
I'd like to share, Venerable. I have a story also
Sure.
of how something just came. It was during COVID, and then we were having this event at the temple, and my daughter got COVID, so that means I was exposed. So I couldn't attend the event. So everybody was wondering what happened to me. How come I didn't attend the event? So of course, like I told one person, and then it kind of got around like, oh, the reason she can't come is because she was exposed, and then she doesn't want to go to the temple because she might expose more people. So after that, when people found out, people just started calling me like, "Oh, is your daughter okay? Do you guys have any? Do you guys need any what ivermectin is it? I think. Do you have that medicine that can help her get better or lessen the symptoms of the COVID?" So I was just like, "Oh, wow!" I said, "No, it's okay," because my mother-in-law already sent over some ivermectin, but I was just amazed that I got like 2 or 3 calls with offers without even asking. It was just because they found out she had COVID. So I just said like, wow, people are really good. When the time comes, they're just willing to, to give whatever they give without any expectation or anything in return. They just want to help.
Thank you, Sheila. Leo, did you have something you want to share? You had your hand raised.
Yeah, Shifu Jishang. I also have the similar experience that Ube. This happened about 3 years before. When I was in Upset and go to Kaohsiung. After I back from Foguangshan Temple, then to Kaohsiung City. I feel like something was going wrong, and why everything goes wrong. So I pray for 观音菩萨吧. Then that time, there are two people call me that night. The one is Peter, but he is not here today. And then another is Venerable Hui Shen, now in Fogongshan Temple. Yeah, they call me that. Oh, how's going on here, Leo? How are you today? Like that, I feel like, well, I didn't say anything to others. I just wanna um leave myself away from my home and go for a travel to condensate myself, to live away from my any kinds of 烦恼. Yeah, but it seems like 观音菩萨 could hear my my need. So these two people, these two variables and Peter, they call me the nine. I feel like, well, they're actually is a embodiments of 观音菩萨.
Yes, yes.
像观音菩萨的化身一样.
Yes, the Bodhisattva has come to you through them. Thank you, Leo, for sharing. Okay. So, wow, it's 9 o'clock already. So,
We can continue, just aim before 9:30. It's okay.
sure. Well, actually, just the last question. What have you learned from today's discussion? Your takeaway from the articles, or anything you would like to share, you can also share.
Chifu, Jishang, I want to share something. I have a similar experience before during in my college days. Before, like in the college, in order for you to be graduated, you need to apply any kind of scholarship and or any kind of curricular activities. So during my time before, I applied as a what you call this a music band in our band, and there's what you call this an instrument that I really love, and I fall in love like, oh wow, this instrument is so good, and I want to have this and stuff like that. And I keep praying that, I'm imagining myself that I need to have that kind of instruments. And then as days and months goes by, it really frustrates me. And then suddenly it came to my realization that I don't need to be attached on that feeling, and I don't need to force on myself. And then I just follow doing good deeds, just keep practicing and just keep practicing on my instruments to be good. And one day, there's a person who came unexpectedly, Oy, and he appreciate my performance and my playing. Then he said that, um let me just give you this instrument. And I said suddenly, wow, this is my dream instruments uh, that I envisioned before. And this lesson really reminds me a lot, and how being grateful and being thankful for what you have right now, and not by attaching to any kind of feelings, or grasping to any kind of feelings, which really, you know leads to um, contentment and happiness, which is true happiness to us and to others. And that's my realization for this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. I was thinking there's actually a difference, Sure, sometimes when we run after what we want and we really get what we wanted, right? That kind of feeling compared to where maybe you don't even know what you needed, but somebody just kind of comes and give you that you needed, that you really, really needed, right? Without even you saying it, right? It's a bit like what people have shared, like Leo and Sheila. Like you didn't really expect people to make the phone call. Like Ube, you said they just made a call to ask how are you doing, right? So there is that difference, right? You are both still very happy because if we get what we wanted, we still feel a lot of joy in that. And it's not saying that then from now on we never ask for what we want. It's not what this article is saying, but it's just that we can also have a lot of things by not wanting, right? There are still a lot of things that are made possible, right? Okay. Anyone else? Venerable Yu Hui?
I think we need to be appreciate what we have already. I think it's the article to give to tell us.
Mhm. Mhm.
Shifu, as I look at this title, having by not wanting. So wanting means you desire something. That means you're it's based on attachment,
Mm.
right? So wanting means it's based on attachment and you desire it.
Mhm.
And having means something that you already have
Mm.
without even asking for it. So this brings me to our Buddha nature. It's something that we all have already, our Buddha nature. So I think that that's the most important thing to have, to focus on while you're alive. That it's something very precious that cannot be given to you. That you can't want it because it's already there. So and nobody can give it to you. Nobody can take it from you. So you work on that, and the whole world just becomes full of possibilities and full of possibilities for you to improve, to become Buddha-like, or and eventually to get away from the cycle of rebirth. That, that's what I got from the article, Sifu.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Thank you, Lord.
it's just a matter of looking at what you already have, what you inherently have.
Yes.
Okay, Sifu, thank you.
Thank you. As you were speaking, I thought about well, you've heard it before, you know, when we have a half cup full of water, like half cup water, like a cup with half filled water. Often we say, hey, I only have half a cup, right? We look at the half a cup that we have, but we don't look at the half a cup that we don't have, right? You look at what you already have, but not what you're lacking, right? Okay. So if no one has any more, I guess we can end here.
I think it's a lot of thinking for
Mm.
today's topic.
Mm.
So it's kind of quiet. I can feel maybe everyone is thinking what they really learned or from their life experience,
Mhm.
right?
But this one is kind of you know, I always think of it like I'm only just raising some thoughts for you guys to think about. But I think this is kind of like a journey that you continue to keep searching, right? But I think this having by not wanting, it's yeah, I guess we can continue to keep contemplating on it. That moments where we wanting something, we can stop and think about what I already have, like what Hodge has said, right? So yeah, well, I'm still kind of like sitting with the question myself. Okay. Mhm. What about Member Ziqing? Would you like to share something? No? Okay, well, if no one has anything, I think we can just end here. Thank you very much, Yu Hui.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking about what you say, like what you want us to think about, 以无为有 and 以无为有 and 不药而有 right? And then I think, okay, how to translate 以无为有?
You were your Venerable Master here. Here,
I cannot remember that.
this one. Having everything without having anything.
以无为有, yeah. So we are happy, right? Because we don't have anything.
Most
Right.
people are not like that.
Kind of, okay, kind of.
Most people are very upset when
You
they
have to be
nothing.
happy because you don't have, and you are satisfied, okay? Satisfied, okay, what we already have, and you are not craving for more. You just stay what you have for now, and you are happy, right?
Tipo, if you have something, you might not be happy because you will lose it. If you have a lot of things, you
Keep it
can lose
and
a lot of
like it.
things. If you have nothing, you cannot lose anything because you have nothing.
Yes, so 以无为有, yeah, I have nothing. Well, pretty much I have nothing now.
Well, actually, in the article, Venerable Master also reminds us that whatever we are lacking, we can continue to work on it. For example, if you're someone who lacks affinities with people, you can cultivate that, right? You can form more affinities with people, right? So if you wish for something, I guess if we wish for something, then we can cultivate that. That's to begin with. We can't straight away, get to the stage of where we just like say, okay, I don't want anything in life. I think that's a very, very high state of like a Buddha, right? But
it's not like that.
step by step. But at least if I wish for something, instead of keep wishing for others to give to me, I can be the one to give to others that thing that I really want, right? I'm the one to give others what I really want, right? That's also one way that we can work towards having, right? By not wanting.
And then just suddenly something and show up and give it to you, we'll be happy for that. Very happy.
Yes.
Yeah. So we always happy.
Shifu,
Just
I have a-
happy with the situation, what we have, and be satisfied.
Yes.
Even if it's not what we expect.
Mhm.
But we
Yes,
just be happy. It's the way it is. Yeah. No complaint.
Shifu, is this the Chinese translation of 享有? 不要拥有.
要拥有.
Yeah, is this equivalent, the Chinese translation?
I think it's same as 有点那个不药而有的感觉, right?
Yeah, but 享
有点
有
那个感觉. Yeah, you just
享有 is kind of like
Appreciating.
appreciate it
yeah.
with
It's
everything
kind of,
around you.
Because often we keep to ourselves, right? We kind of, the idea of sharing, I think 享有 is more like you don't really have to have it, but you can still share with others. For example, when others do something good, you can rejoice. You can rejoice in their good deeds. You get also very happy. You're not the one that, do all that good deeds, but you can also be very happy. It's similar, the what do you call it? The state of mind of the non-clinging is very similar, but the idea of it is slight difference in with 享有. I think 无药而有 is kind of like you can still have it. You can have a lot of things by not wanting anything. You know, so it's kind of like looking at what you can have or what you already have instead of always chasing for things. Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, but so I think all of them is talk about not attachment.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank
Mhm.
you. Thank
Thank
you
you,
for the discussion.
everyone. Okay, so I'm gonna share. Let's do the transfer marriage. Oh, I think the last thing I want to remind every one of you, we really need to study on the Diamond Sutra because it's kind of concept of that. I mean, like a lot of things can relate to the Diamond Sutra. Not having, not wanting, but it's there, not to be attached, right? Okay, so let's join palms. Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
very much, Susan, and
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Today I
everyone.
think a lot tonight.
Thank you, Safo.
Thank you. Thank you for the
you.
night.
Thank you for the interesting discussion tonight. Thank you.
See you next time.
All right,
See
thank
you.
you.
Good night.
Bye. Good night, everyone.